Welcome to Dom and Dragons, a Goats and Dragons campaign featuring Dominic Monaghan. Please be warned, this podcast contains adult situations and language that may not be suitable for children. In fact, we try our best to be unsuitable for people of all ages. You're welcome.
Welcome back to Burden, a muddy spot under the boot of the Gohomian army. If you have a sword, you best know when to draw it. If you have money, you've probably left. And if there's someone you trust in this forgotten place, you hold on to them. We're all just trying to make it here, and maybe we ain't looking too close about what you gotta do to be good in a place like Burden.
Everyone, we're back. We got some fluids. I got alcohol. I don't know about the rest of them, and I finished it already. So
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
That's how you do it.
and we're gonna get back into Dungeons and Dragons here. So we just left off with Elif and Connie fighting their way out of a pretty dire situation there with a statue that seemed to be coming to life. Underneath the city of Burden, found some help from some Drider/spider friends, and were able to make it out of there okay with the kegs of alchemist's fire. So let's transport back to Kryon and Makek. And Kryon and Makek, you have just beaten your foes. You are staring at these two beautiful griffins in front of you. Even in the moonlight of the evening, you can see beautiful brown and white feathers on these creatures. They're very large. They're slightly bigger than a horse. Their wingspan encompasses several horses. And they seem to be very grateful for setting at least one of them free, and then the other one sort of tagging along. Kalia has already gone up to them and started kind of petting them and stroking them a bit. But what is it that you two would like to do?
Well, at least the other two won't have had something so eventful and harrowing. Did you want to try to fly by the mountain and take a look?
I think that makes sense now that they seem to be on our side. I mean, couldn't hurt, right? A little bit more information, a little bit more intel.
With what I know about griffins, Andy, do I think that speak with animals would affect them, since they apparently are just around Burden?
Yeah, you think that it could, certainly.
So I probably would have been casting that as a ritual, and I don't know how long we're cutting this as from the end of combat.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, it can be about 10 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll sort of like, if it's been about 10 minutes, I'll go and be like, hello?
Hi!
I instantly regret this.
What's your name?
I'm Makek Tumbledown of Tumbledown's Flower Crowns.
Oh, that's funny. My name's Makek.
No, it's not.
Elif, you're not there.
If I said my name was Elif Fire of Property Damage, what would your name
Oh,
be?
that's funny. My name's Elif Fire.
Fair enough.
Maybe these guys are a little bit like parrots.
Mm.
Or minor birds. mimicking and stuff.
So, we were hoping we might get some help from you in terms of flying.
Ah. That's all they do. Ah.
Do we know what griffins eat?
Yeah, you can give me a nature check.
It's not a crit, but it's a 19 and a 20, which proves that coming right back from break, yes,
Yes,
it does reset
back in the
Dom's
game,
early
you guys.
19, yeah. With a 19, definitely. They tend to eat bats. They tend to eat larger rodents. There is the fire. There was kind of a large chicken being cooked over the fire at the campsite, and that's kind of still on the spit.
Mikek, who is generally not particularly squeamish when it comes to animals, having been raised around Kalia, is going to walk over and scoop up sort of a handful of the drow. You want?
They'll come over and kind of like sniff it. And then they'll just chomp on that a bit. You have to kind of remove your hand very quickly.
I was going to say, the arm holding it has now withdrawn into the shell. Okay. Yeah. We're just going to, feel free to help yourselves to him.
I always had this idea of griffins as majestic creatures.
Yeah, sure.
If you want more of that, you can tune into tier campaigns, where they will be.
How do we get
so
these guys off the ground?
Do you think it would be possible for you to carry my friend and I, and more specifically, eventually a couple more of our friends up to that, pointing at the floating mountain, that will be in a little bit. Right now, this friend would also like to go take a quick look at that, but then come back.
Ah, yeah. I've never seen it. I'd love to look at it too. And then it'll kind of go over to you, Kryon, and sort of nudge you a bit. And if you'd like to, you could probably hop on its back.
I would be delighted.
They seem extremely intelligent, noble creatures. I'm sure they will carry you majestically. Meanwhile, Mikek is looking at Kalia. What the shit, Kalia?
The other one comes over to you, Mikek, then, and kind of bows low. Yes, I'm afraid that my friend is a little odd, and if I could be of any service, please, do not hesitate to ask.
Thank you. This is a great relief, given the role that you all are likely to play in our plan to get up there, that you will not deposit us on the top of a random mountain, or in a valley. I was growing concerned. Might I offer you coupons for Tumbledown's Flower Crown's veterinary services?
Quite, yes. That would be most appreciated.
It's gonna, tuck them in sort of behind, the feathers.
Just to check, it's only Mikek that can directly communicate with the griffins. Once we take off, I just hear screeches and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, roger that.
Yep. The one sort of looks at you and says, what's the name of the one up there? And he kind of motions to Kryon on his back.
That would be Kryon Fane.
Oh, that's funny. My name is Kryon Fane. And he starts jumping and flying now off. And Kryon, let's go ahead and have you roll a animal handling check. And let me get that to you.
Yes, thank you.
Why doesn't the griffin roll a halfling handling check?
Also, Mikek is just going to look at the one who seems quite well spoken. Have I just made a terrible mistake regarding my friend's life?
I wouldn't have done it, but he's a sweet boy. Your friend will be fine.
What did he just refer to the bird as with a name?
A sweet boy.
He's a sweet boy.
Yeah.
He's our sweet boy. It's a Sri Lankan name.
Yeah. So an 8 on animal handling. So Kryon, you're just sort of holding on tight just digging your hands into the feathers and just holding on as very quickly you have ascended into the air. It's been, again, a cloudy night. There are no real fires on the ground, so you almost lose your orientation very quickly. And you can't even tell if you're upside down or if you're right side up at this point. You then just feel yourself going higher and higher and higher, and you just barely open your eyes to look around. You see yourself now covered in a thick fog all around you, and you kind of take a breath, and it's moist air, and then immediately you come above the clouds onto this moonlit the plain of sort of clouds ahead of you. You kind of look back, you see nothing in the distance, but the moonlight is certainly highlighting a very large mountain peak up ahead. You do seem to have some control over this bird creature, but not a ton right now. What is it you'd like to try to do?
Well, I think the first thing Kryon will do is just try and speak to get our Griffiny friend to maybe get a little closer. Not sure how easy that will be.
Okay.
What is that? Is there an animal communication type thing?
Yeah, I think we'll try animal handling again.
And failing that, I wonder if maybe like a horse, he can kind of, try.
Yeah. A 4. So you rolled a 4 there. And so the 4, it definitely doesn't seem to be paying much attention to you at all. As you're trying to talk to it, you're like, okay, let's get over by the mountain. It just seems to be squawking all like just over you, so you can't even hear you, basically. It then turns left very quickly and starts chasing a bat. And it dives immediately, and I need then a dexterity saving throw to hold on.
Oh goodness, this is going to be fun.
So let's go ahead and roll that. 13. Yeah, good. So you're able to just hold on as this thing now swoops and dives. It catches a bat, and there's a bit of juice that kind of hits your face as you're just holding on to these feathers. You're having very little time controlling this thing, but it does seem to then casually be making its way over to the mountain, because that seemed to be the last thing McKeck asked it.
Can I try and experiment with a little, like you would do with a horse, kind of lean on its left wing to go left, lean on its right wing to go right, pull back on its feathers to go up?
Sure. You've tried talking to it. You've tried, just kind of using its feathers as reins. Those haven't worked so far. So let's try this. A 20. There it is. All right. So you're starting to now figure out these animals. You can't control them. You can only kind of lean on them to suggest a direction, if that makes sense. And as they're then kind of gliding through and you're shifting your body weight back and forth, now you're starting to get the hang of it, Kryon. You're now realizing what it's going to take to gently lead and suggest to these animals where to go. And at this point, you're sort of now diving in and out of the clouds. If this was water, you would look like a dolphin, basically coming up, checking, looking around, dipping back into fog. And you're making your way much closer to this mountain. So what is it then that you're wanting to look for specifically around this thing? As you're getting closer, you can see fire lights kind of dotting the mountainside as if there are small encampments. You also could kind of go underneath a little bit into the cloud cover to try to look for like caves or entrances kind of underneath the kind of lip mantle of the wide brim of the mountain itself.
Where's McKeck? Where's my partner in crime? Is he nearby? Is he?
McKeck, have you gone up to follow?
No.
No. Okay. Yeah. I think you, McKeck and Kali are trying to head back, probably to town. And Makek, why don't you give me an animal handling then as well? Or would you rather have Kalia?
I mean, I'd probably also just be talking to my griffin. I'd also be asking him or them if they have a name.
Oh, yes, dear boy. Yes. They call me Fames.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Fames. Perhaps we can head back to the city and your friend will hopefully bring my friend back there at not terminal velocity.
That would be lucky, wouldn't it?
Okay, so we had a conversation about this earlier, and you seemed to suggest that you thought it was going to go well.
Yes, I'm sure it's fine. No need to worry, old chap. You're fine. He's fine. Everyone will be just peachy keen.
Andy, you're the worst.
So Kryon, yeah, you kind of look around. You just don't see Makek or Kalia.
Okay, he's on his own. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. He likes it that way. I mean, it's kind of a recon check, right? It's just a kind of a sortie of sorts.
And I think, if I was correct, the thing we talked about last time was actually partially around the fact that Makek and Connie are both very sort of large creatures on the back of a griffin, so you were going to be looking for, is there a way to sneak in? Is there, like, that was sort of what was at the top of your mind.
Yeah. I mean, you did say that there was potentially kind of entrances to tunnels and things like that. Is that what
Maybe,
you see from a distance? Cave entrances and stuff like that?
Right. It's kind of it's hard, especially in the moonlight, to see from a distance, but you can get much closer.
Let's certainly get much closer. I just don't want to get...
Especially if you go into the cloud cover, you might be able to see kind of what's underneath the mountain a little bit.
Cool. Yeah, let's get closer.
All right. So you dive into the clouds. You're coming up on the mountain itself. As you dip down even below the kind of overcast clouds, they're just kind of creating a wall of fog up here. You now have gotten closer, much closer to this place. You can see several things. One, you see on the ground fires and torches surrounding the elk. You also are able to kind of dip and dive in between the ropes that seem to go up entirely into the mountain itself, that are tied to the antlers of these elk on the ground. As you get up closer to those, you see that about 5 of those ropes each are tied to a large metal kind of circular hook, and that those are driven deep into the rock of the bottom of the mountain itself. So those seem to be anchor points, which then the elk are using to pull this mountain along. Off the backside of the mountain, then, there's a waterfall that you see going down into the clouds itself, and then just kind of coming out the other end of the clouds is rain at that point. As you get closer to the waterfall, you do see that it's a fairly large cave that water is pouring out of. And that is on the underside of the mountain as well. So you think at least you would be hidden from whoever's on top of the mountain. So that's a possibility too.
Nice little bit of insight, but I can't get too much closer to the entrance to that cave.
You can, yeah, if you want to. Yep, you can definitely get closer.
Yeah, I'd like to come back with kind of a potential starting off plan of sorts, a place to start, to see. So let's see if I can get a little closer.
All right. Let's try an animal handling check to see how well you can kind of guide this bird creature in. A 9. A 9's decent. It's not hard. Now that you've sort of managed to figure out how to steer this creature, you don't think... Yeah. So you're able to basically kind of land on one of the sides of that massive cave where the waterfall is coming out of. You do that. You sort of crumble a few rocks, making a bunch of noise as you're doing that. But you do discover that there's a path along the side of the now river that is coming out of the mountain, out from the heart of the mountain itself. And that path is large and wide enough, about 10 feet across. So you could even walk your griffin up that path a little bit longer if you want to see kind of what's further in the cave.
Yeah, let's push our luck a little bit.
All right. Do you stay on the griffin, or would you like to kind of get off and sneak?
Well, are they loud? Are they
a little bit? Yeah. Yeah, this one has claws and talons that are like scraping against the rock. If you were listening for something, you probably would hear it. But you don't even know if there's guards down here at all or anything like that. So
I'll definitely jump off as long as in the jumping off landing process that's not loud. That's not too loud in itself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, let's then give you a stealth check. 18. Nice. All right. Yeah, with an 18, you sort of land deftly, quietly. The rushing water, there's no way they can hear you over this. And as the water spills out over the edge of the cliff that you're on, and you're going further into that cave, you feel like you hear maybe music, then a few notes kind of bouncing off of the walls of this cave up ahead. And as you kind of then turn just a little bit of a corner, because you're on the right side of this cave, and the cave itself then splits off to the right. You can tell that there must be some sort of metal ore along the sides of these caves, because something much further in is now glinting and bouncing light off of all of this ore. And it's becoming sparkly and beautiful as you see it.
Wow.
But this definitely seems to be an entrance to get onto the mountain, at least. You're not sure where it goes exactly yet. Would you like to continue, or? You're moving away from the river if you go into that cave area.
You mean away from the safety of the river? Is that what you...
Safety as in it's making a lot of noise, and so it's easier to sneak. Yeah.
I mean, if we all come back in, there's going to be way more of us making way more noise, and at some point we have to turn down away from the river. Maybe it's a good idea for one of us to have a look. I'll push my luck a little further and maybe see if I can turn that corner just to get possibly the last recon before I head out.
Let's do it. So we'll do one more stealth check. How are we doing? 16. All right. Whew. All right, Kryon. With a 16, you're quietly now. You're now getting into a space where the griffin probably can't follow you, but it seems very okay waiting at the mouth of this cave. So if you're okay leaving him behind for a little bit, you can go in pretty sneakily further in.
Sure.
Okay. So you then sneak on in. The rock here is again glinting. It's some sort of obsidian and kind of a silvery ore, it seems to be like, all around you. And as you get further and further in, you now hear where that music is coming from. There's a chant, it seems, that is coming from further up in through this cave. And as you continue in, you come to the exit of the cave that you're in, which is a sheer drop of about 20 feet into a circular room, in the middle of which is a very large white crystal that is pulsing with blue and white energy. and then you see who's chanting around it. For perspective, please remember that you're only like 3 feet tall.
Sure.
These things that are walking around it are about 30, 40 feet tall. They go not only up past where you are, like you're 20 feet probably off the ground now at the top of this cave that drops 20 feet. They're standing on that. You're about at their belly button, and then another 20 feet up. Then you see the heads of these creatures who are very slowly and methodically almost dancing as they move around. If anyone's ever seen like No theater in Japan, it's a very like calculated, flowing kind of movement as they walk around. And their voices are now booming in this cave. It seems almost as if the chant is echoing 30 times what it should as it bounces off the walls in this high place. Right now you can't tell if they're like worshiping this thing, if they're activating this crystal. You're not exactly sure what's going on. But it does appear that somehow stone giants are involved here.
Okay. I think I'm not gonna push my luck anymore without going back to the party and
All right.
telling them what I've seen. So I think I'm gonna head back out and see if I can
Head back out.
locate my griffin friend.
All right. Let's give one more stealth check. A 22. Very nice. Yeah. They seemed really preoccupied with whatever ritual that they're performing, and you're able to bounce out of there very quietly. You feel like you've left no mark. And you get back, your griffin friend is still waiting. And if you'd like, you can hop out of here and try to head back home.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm gonna cut my losses at this point. I think I have enough information to impart to the group.
All right. So you step out, get back onto the griffin. You've now managed to be able to steer this thing. It leaps off of the edge of the cliff, following the river and over into the waterfall, down. You're starting to get the spray of the water in your face, and then the wings open and it shoots off into the clouds itself. And as you're taking a breath and you're kind of looking back over your shoulder at the mountain that is now getting a slight bit smaller as you proceed to Burden, something large and dark flies in front of your face. And it disappears into the clouds as well. And then you can tell that your griffin is immediately scared. And it almost stops flapping its wings, and it hugs its wings close to its chest. You hold on as you just now feel yourself in kind of a free fall down toward the ground. And then as maybe 20 feet off the ground, again, the wings open and you soar over several trees, and you see now the lights of Burden in the distance. And then you hear from behind you somewhere deep in the clouds, covered by the fog. It seems like there was something flying around, perhaps a winged guard of some sort. Luckily, you were able to avoid it this time. But there is more information now you have. And it seemed to really freak out the griffin. And it's not too long then before you land into the firelights and the lamplights of Burden. The griffin itself kind of landing in the mud, sliding to a stop. You see Makek and Kalia there talking with Connie and Elif, who are now unloading barrels as well. What would you like to say to them as you hop off the griffin?
Okay, I think Kryon takes a few deep breaths, collects himself. Oh, guys. Oh, okay. I have stuff to say. Let me just collect my thoughts for a second. Elif, what is that in your hair? You have reproductive fluid in your hair? Or what is that? It's wet. It's webs. Webs, you said?
It was a discharge. I saw it. It was a discharge.
It looks like some sort of animal discharge. You got it all around you. Just do this. Do this with your front.
It's totally webs. I'll burn it. I can burn it off.
Do this with your bangs. It's all.
Elif is going to instead produce flame and burn the web off.
Yeah. You singed a bit of that red hair of yours as well, but it's been singed before.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're totally welcome.
There's something about Elif. Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, guys, I think I learned some pretty good stuff. Okay, first of all, not all griffins are created equal. I was on one that seemed to have some sort of brain deficiency. Maybe I don't want to speak for you as well, McKeck, but I assumed all griffins were slightly mentally challenged, but that's not true. It's just my guy, right?
McKeck is sort of sipping a mug of tea. Yeah, about that. There might have been some details that we perhaps should have acquired before you went off in the clouds, but I'm glad you're back.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I was also under the assumption that because you could communicate with the animals, I could too. Didn't realize that until I was about 300 feet up into the sky, so... another thing that maybe would have helped me when I was on the ground, but it's okay. I survived. Okay, so cliff notes. We managed to get up there. Seemed to be a few lit fires, some campfires, relatively low activity at this time of night. No one was alerted to my presence. My griffin friend kind of flew around, gave a nice little griffin's eye view of, what I could see, and then I saw an entrance to a cave that looked hopeful. It looked like a place that we could possibly get in since it was kind of shielded by a waterfall. We landed. My griffin friend stayed outside for a little bit. Went inside. There was a sound of kind of a ceremony of sorts or a festival, something like that. Managed to creep round and get my eyes on what was happening, which was like a party or a gathering of
that sounds nice.
No. Well, maybe, but huge giants, huge like rocky giants. They didn't necessarily. Well, they didn't see me, so I can't say whether or not they're friendly or unfriendly. But they were very distracted with doing some singing and playing of some instruments that I'd never seen before. In the center of this room was a huge crystal that, whether they were worshipping it or not, it seemed to be the center of this gathering's attention. At that point, if I'd have gone any further, I think they might have seen me, so I came back. But so up until that point, that's kind of all seems to be relatively hopeful. That's fine. On the flight back, I didn't see it, but I heard a huge creature in the sky that seemed to maybe sense that there was something smaller flying around and sent out a little bit of a battle cry in which my griffin basically skyfalled up until about 20 feet from the ground. We're safe. He's safe. We're okay. I'm going to guess there's something like a dragon watching guard in the sky. So we'll go up there. That's something to keep in mind. I need a drink.
Mikek's just going to wordlessly hand you a mug.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So I kind of lost hope once you said everything up to there, which included the chanting giant ceremony, was hopeful.
Well, it just in relation to everything else, what I can only assume is a dragon with bad intentions guarding our entrance in. Everything else seemed like it was doable, guys. It was doable. We can get to that cave. I know it. I think we can sneak past those giants or maybe cause a distraction. The dragon, if it is a dragon, that's not really my wheelhouse.
So at this, I'm going to sort of, again, having I assume I've been keeping talk with animals up since I've been hanging out with Fames.
Sure. Fames, yeah.
Fames. Sort of turn. Hi. Kryon. I remember the name he said it was his last. So what did you notice while you were flying that was maybe a bit scary?
There's something up there that keep me. Oh, no. It's so bad.
Poor Griffin.
Pull down a couple of things and like quickly mix something. Have a veterinary soother.
A soother, okay. It'll kind of and like kind of choke it down a bit. What does a veterinary soother do?
I was just going for something that was literally soothing.
Something
for it.
calming.
Yeah.
Calming and stuff. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Do you have an herbalism kit? Why don't you give me a check of those? If not, you should. You should just have one. Okay.
14.
Beautiful. Yeah. That seems to... his eyes are really wide, and they'll kind of soften and even just get really a little sleepy almost. Yeah.
There you go, buddy. Remember,
nice.
Tumbledown Flower Crown's veterinary accepts trade in kind from those
That's
who may
funny.
not have access to cash.
Yeah, my name's Veterinary.
You just give him some cozy chamomile or some shit.
You're gonna see McHeck's eyes sort of narrow. Yeah. Chamomile.
All right, so potentially horrifying dragon-like creature flying around that mountain. I guess I'll just say that we've had a go at it here. Go of it here.
I got hurt. I never get hurt. It was really terrible, you guys.
Elif got hurt. She got discharge in her hair. I got real scared and it was a total mess. And now I'm feeling really bad. And so, yeah, I'm not saying that we should just give up on this mountain thing, but
Good.
at the very least, I need to lie down. And Connie is just doing that right now. Like he's just, as he's speaking.
So I could definitely use some sleep too, but also I'd like just to point out we could reframe this in a positive light, because you know what dragons have besides being really scary and really big and really dangerous and lots of teeth? You know what they have, you guys?
Fire.
Fire.
Yeah, they have fire! So maybe this is a good thing!
Connie takes his hat and puts it over his eyes. He's trying to get some sleep on the ground, I guess.
Serenade, the barmaid who owns the Beasts of Burden Tavern, has come out serving drinks again to kind of all the people that have gathered outside that are just kind of scared and just kind of wondering what's going to happen next. She comes around. She has a few shots of some sort of brown liquid, if anyone wants one.
I'll take one.
So,
Kryon gives it to you.
While Connie is determinedly going to sleep on the floor here.
Even though I think he has a house.
Yeah, he's down to 5 hit points. He's
sleepy. The blood loss is draining him.
And he's overwhelmed.
Serenade even says, "You all can come inside and sleep if you want. That's fine."
McHeck's just kind of patting him. He's okay. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, Kryon, if you were going to plant a rugged load of explosives, buy something, would you pick the cave, the crystal, or something you hadn't seen yet?
I'm assuming you're speaking to Kryon, the halfling, not Kryon, the griffin.
Yes.
Well, there was a kind of anchor of sorts that was attached to a group of elk. That seemed to be the kind of point that was holding the mountain to the elk and thus being pulled through the sky. If you're talking about bringing the mountain down or toppling the mountain in some way, I wonder if maybe that is more of a crucial point of contact. The crystal, I don't know. A part of me kind of feels like that's a valuable item that might be worthwhile for us to have. The cave might be an entranceway closer into seeing what's going on with these guys. But if you're talking about mass destruction on a mass scale, I think maybe hitting that anchor point is key.
Well, and if anyone wants, they can give me a history check to see if they've ever heard of anything like this or know anything about stone giants in this way.
Does anyone have a strong history vibe, or is it something that we're all at the same base level at?
I'm at a 2, but I'm also gonna cough because I think that Elif could perhaps provide guidance for religion or history.
Oh yeah, I have that spell. Guidance for everybody.
We'll just pick one at a time here. Yeah. For if you're
How
all
does,
kind of
how does guidance work?
You get to add a D4 to a skill check or an ability check that you make while the person is concentrating on it. It goes on one creature, and it can either be the caster themselves or someone else. It's a very, very good spell.
Cool.
So, would you like to have that?
Who wants to make a history check?
Who's got the strongest history base level?
Would I think that that's more history or religion? Because he seemed to couch it in very ceremonial terms.
From a different point of view. Yep, you could also do that.
Cool, so maybe like I'll roll religion, because that feels like how I took it, and Kryon or Elif could take history.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'll take the religion roll.
Guidance.
11.
Kryon, so this feels very weird. You think
What did I roll? I'm sorry, I think I missed
17.
History 17.
Okay, not bad.
Yeah, so you going back to your monastery, you actually remember learning in a book a little bit about cloud giants who would every once in a while use something like a crystal to make a house float, a castle maybe, but nothing like a mountain. And you very distinctly remember you saw stone giants around that crystal, which gives you several things to think about. Are cloud giants and stone giants working together, which is not necessarily something that typically happens among giant kin? Did stone giants steal something from the cloud giants? A crystal is certainly more stone-like than cloud-like. Maybe the stone giants would have better powers with it. Yeah, you're not exactly sure, but you're pretty sure that you remember a connection to cloud giants. And if that's the case, it possibly could be part of the source, if not the source, of why that mountain seems to be floating.
Okay.
So
you kind of have that in the back of your mind, and how much you share, of course, is up to you. But
11 religion give me anything?
In a religion, yeah, it sounds like, from what Kryon described, it was a little hard sort of secondhand without seeing it, but it does feel a little like that is some sort of ritual used to activate something, not like worship it.
Okay. So it was more purposive than
Yes.
purely ceremonial, or... Okay.
Yeah, it seems that way. Connie, you sort of just kind of open your eyes on the ground, and you then sit up real quick because you see something odd. Elif, you catch Connie's eyes, and you also then sort of look behind you. Coming up the road from the south, you see about 5 Goholnian soldiers just walking through town. One of them has a clipboard. And he comes up and he looks at you, Connie. He looks at you, Elif. He looks at you, McKeck. He looks then down to Kryon. And then he kind of smiles a little bit. Master Halfling, there is something I want to ask of you. I hope you don't mind. But is there a captain here named, and he looks at his sheet, Granite Heimlo, Captain Heimlo. Seems like we're supposed to be picking up something from here. Could you direct us to this Heimlo? And he then looks up at the rest of you. And if you remember, Granite Heimlo was the outrageously German captain that Kryon and McKeck killed earlier this evening.
He was also a demon or devil or something.
He was something else.
Yeah. And he's looking at you, Kryon. Would you mind passing us to this person?
Kryon's gonna kind of...
He's looking at his clipboard. For giant elk, I believe, is on the manifest.
Giant elk, you say?
Here's the thing. He passed away. He's no longer with us. He shuffled off this mortal coil. He's dead.
Oh,
Yeah, very sad. He just died.
that is horrible. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Stuff happens, you know.
Yes. Pay no need. Who else then is in command? Who is in command of the Gohonians here? Point us to some boy.
McKeck. I have a thing over there. But McKeck he's your man.
Yes.
I'm just gonna...
I see. Well, I was hoping to speak with someone, not one of the off races. I was hoping to speak with someone more intelligent, but this is fine. Turtle person.
Yep.
You sound exactly how you look, yeah.
So we do have a little bit of a tradition here in Burden. New visitors, and you can tell me whether or not I'm allowed to do this, but new visitors, and he's gonna... McKeck is sort of fiddling with his flower crown, which I also treat as my herbalism kit. We have a special welcoming tea. It's only for the most important visitors.
Okay, give me a deception check.
18.
Then could we be pointed to the next in command after we drink this welcome tea with the savages of the land?
Of course, I'm sure you will be seeing the relevant Goholian command structure very quickly after drinking it.
Whatever then, as long as we can... Obviously, we have something very important that we need to get back to. And he kind of points up at the mountain. Fine, show us to the tea.
I'm just sort of mixing it. I'm sort of assuming like she's been bringing drinks. There's a whole set of mugs. I understand that an herbalism kit is not a poison kit. I want to have this fuck him up as badly as an herbalism kit can.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, give me an herbalism kit check then.
I also feel like as I'm doing this, I am literally going to though look over at Elif, like little. Oh.
Kryon, you also remember you have a trap in the back of your pack that you don't know what it does. Just saying. In case anyone wants
Metagame level guidance.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, sorry, that's on you.
Or if you have any highly combustible fluids that you're just
I thought you
holding.
wanted me floating up, Galway.
That's awesome. That's where Lena's mind went first.
Well, to be fair.
But yes, you have guidance.
We're not entirely sure what trap does, right?
Yeah, no, you've
But it's a
not
trap.
been able to really, examine it too much yet. You just found it earlier today.
Nat 20.
Oh my god.
Nat 20 on the herbalism check, and fuck it. That'll be a 28 total.
Amazing. Woo! God.
You serve this drink to the 4 Goholian, 3 Goholian men, and then a female elf.
Did you say 5
soldiers.
people?
Just 4.
Okay, I was like, no, Makek has tea for everybody.
Yep. You serve this drink to the 4 people. They're starting to look around, and as one of them sort of looks at you, and the main one that was talking says, "This smells funny, smells odd." One of their friends drops behind them. They're just like, "Is that coriander?"
Star
And
anise.
another friend drops behind him.
Star anise, it's fun.
Is there a bit of coriander in there?
It's chamomile. Chamomile.
You got me. There's a little bit of coriander.
Third one drops, face plants into the mud, and he goes, "It's probably coriander," and just drinks it up. And but he doesn't even tip. He doesn't even get to take his drink down. He just keeps going backward, until he too falls into the mud. You now have 4 Goholian soldiers coming from the mountain itself. And I think that's where we're going to call tonight's session.
Oh, I was just about to frisk them, but I get it. Let's frisk them the next episode.
We'll definitely get to frisk them next episode.
There'll be a time for a frisking.
Oh, 100% time for frisking. That concludes tonight's episode of Dumb and Dragons. If you enjoyed this, let us know. Give us a follow on Twitch. Subscribe on YouTube at Helpful Goat Gaming. On Twitter at Facebook at Helpful Goat. And listen to the podcast Goats and Dragons, where you can wherever you get your podcasts, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, whatever you like. And also there's Helpful Goat Gaming Presents podcast, where you can find some shorter podcasts. Shorter campaigns, one shots, us just talking about D&D, just kind of trying to be helpful, just in general. So you can find all of that stuff at those 2 podcasts. And hang out with us maybe in the Discord. That'd be fun. Awesome. Thanks so much for checking us out. We love you all. Stay safe. Hang in there. And from all of us on Dom and Dragons, we wish you an excellent evening. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thanks for hanging out.
This has been Dom and Dragons, presented by Helpful Goat Gaming. If you enjoyed what you heard and want to hear more, check out our main Dungeons & Dragons campaign, The Fates of Rin, right here in the Goats & Dragons podcast feed. You can also check out our other podcast, Helpful Goat Presents, where we play one-shots, shorter campaigns, as well as have conversations about D&D and role-playing in general. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Helpful Goat. And if you want to hear us play live, you can follow and subscribe to us on Twitch at twitch.tv/helpfulgoat. You can also chat with us and other Helpful Goat fans in our brand new Discord, or donate to our Ko-fi page to help us keep creating content by clicking the links in this episode description. And last but not least, please consider rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, or Stitcher. We are a small independent game design firm and would really appreciate the support. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.